All right, an intro to a video. I've never done this before. Recording this post interview. Yeah, you read the title right. You saw the thumbnail correctly. Somehow, little old Piss Hansen is moving up in the world. Got to do a really fun, cool interview. Got to watch some TCAP with an actual decoy on the show. Dani from Long Beach joins me in this, and we just kind of hang out. Interview her a little bit about what she's been up to, how she got involved in the show, and we watched a few clips from the episode she was involved in. Still planning on covering a lot of these predators, just on my channel as standalone videos. But this is a fun treat, not just to you guys, but to myself. This is really cool. If you would have told me, 8 months ago, a year ago, that I would be interviewing a decoy from the show, I would have politely told you to put my fries in the bag and shut up. That's just who I am. But I've rambled on enough. Let's get into the interview. Thank you guys so much for the continued support, and I hope you enjoy it. All right, we are recording. So I guess first thing I'm going to ask is probably the question you've been asked a million times. Uh, so how did you kind of get involved in all of this? I mean, it's not really something you go. I assume you don't go to like a casting call. to be,
Actually, you're
oh,
wrong.
wow. Okay.
It was like a normal audition. I got sent in by my manager and my agent. So I mean, essentially it was a casting. And I remember seeing like a few people in the waiting room and kind of being like feeling it out like, could I do this better than them? You know how you
You're
like
right.
you sit in the room and you're like, could they play this character better than me? I don't know. I need to up my game, make you nervous. But when I went in there, the perverted justice team, or some of them were in there, like Del Harvey.
Okay.
Um, I don't recall if there was even anybody from like NBC that was sitting in. I think it was just perverted justice and they were recording.
Interesting.
And they went over like different scenarios. Like, what would you say if blah, blah, blah happened and like improvise? And so I just did some talking and improvising and in a different way, because in the audition process, usually you audition and then you hear nothing and think you don't get it. And then suddenly, like a month or two later, they're like, you got the job. It wasn't like that. I literally was going to walk out the door and she was like, you're perfect. I want you. So that was super cool because that never happened. So I remember
Right.
driving home and calling my parents and being like, oh, they hired me like right on the spot. So in that way it was different, but it was a typical audition. I went in there as an actor.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't
Yeah,
like super familiar. So, were you familiar with what you were like auditioning for?
no. Um, I had never actually seen the show, which was interesting. Like I'd heard of it and kind of had an idea, but my mom was like, "You mean like Datelines To Catch a Predator?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "You've never seen that show, have you?" But like my mom is a retired 911 dispatcher, which
Oh, wow.
she was still working at the time. And my dad was a police sergeant at that time. He's retired now too. All his four brothers and sisters, all cops in and around the Chicagoland area. And so for me, it wasn't like this super scary thing. Like I've grown
Yeah.
up with like dinner conversation being about, oh, did you hear about the 12-year-old that blew his brains out, which is super
Right.
horrible, by the way. But I was very used to the cop talk.
Yeah,
So it wasn't super scary to me
that
per
makes sense.
se.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I
Yeah,
guess my a follow-up question I was gonna ask, but I guess it kinda answered itself there was, you said you called your parents and let them know, but,
yeah,
and I guess it sounds like they were a little bit more familiar with the show
yeah,
and
they
what it
definitely
was.
were.
Alright, so what was their initial they were I assume they were happy for you, but a little, "Be careful."
Yeah, my mom was very like, okay, how do they do this? Like,
Yeah.
are there cops? Like, are you protected in some way? And I'm like, I'm sure I am. Like, they can't just like throw me to the wolves. I'm sure there's something. So, once I like got there, which was cool. They picked me up in a limo, which was
Oh,
super
wow,
fun.
cool.
I felt like so fancy picking me up in my where I was staying in a limo and driving all the way to Long Beach. But yeah, when I got there, she had me like, giving me like have me giving all of the play by play of what it was going to be like and what I was going to do and how this was going to work. And yes, there are cops, and I'm like, the perverted justice team is like right there, and you know, Chris Hansen's right there. They're going to protect me. I'll be fine.
Right, right. And so how did that like I guess how much prep did you have then from getting the job to okay, we're picking it up in a limo, going to the house?
Pretty much that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't really feel like there was much prep. I remember kind of watching snippets of episodes so
Mhm.
that I would be like familiar, but I didn't want to watch too much and sort of psych myself out and freak myself out.
Right.
So I watched enough to be like, I know what I'm doing and I'm gonna do this right, but not too much where I was gonna make myself nervous and freak out and blow everything.
Right. Um, how were the nerves, like, first few, it was pretty high, and then maybe you got a little bit more comfortable, or was it just
Uh
kinda a lot of high energy all day?
I was gonna I would say it was pretty high energy. I think the only thing that made me nervous was my first guy that was coming to the house. His screen name was Rick's Talented Tongue, and I
Yeah.
remember being like, that is a really extreme start. Like,
Yeah.
I'm all in. Like, I'm all in with a hardcore one right now. Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, he was one of the first ones I believe that, like, I ended up standing outside with for so long. Like,
Oh,
he was
right.
second guessing going in, and it was, like, I'm telling you, the longest conversation, and finally, Frag is like, "You're taking too long, like, this is taking too long, you gotta, like, gotta do something." So I remember kind of playing hard to get and being like, "Well, just come on in and picture me naked."
Right.
And I'm like, "Whatever, I'm gonna go now." And then he finally followed me in. So the whole playing it hard to get, like, "I'm leaving you now," he was like, "Okay, I'm coming."
Right, yeah, yeah, I think if more decoys used that line, I think we probably would've had
It is
100%.
like it's so funny. It was like one of the first lines I ever said. And no, it was not scripted. I can take full credit for that line. Um, I don't know where it came from. It was just like first thing that popped in my head. And I remember thinking in my head as I'm walking in, I'm like, did I really just say that?
Right.
Oh my gosh. And it became like the infamous line that will never die.
Right. Well, okay, I guess that's another question I kinda and they're gonna keep coming up as I go, so I apologize, but, um, how often I mean, I'm sure maybe not as much now, but right after it aired, did you have a lot of people saying lines to you or saying, "Hey, I saw you on TV last night"?
So fully didn't anticipate for this to be any major thing. This to me was like, job, cool. I'm getting paid for it. I don't expect it to be like my big acting break. But I remember I went into Bob's Big Boy and I had like a few child star celebrity friends. And like, you know, I never looked at them that way. They never looked at me like they were just friends. And I'm used to them getting all of the like notoriety. And one
Right.
was, you know, one of my close friends was Stephen Anthony Lawrence, who played Beans
Oh,
from
wow.
Even Stevens.
Yes.
And then I had Stephen Christopher Parker, who was at that time just booked a role on ER and like had done several of like Rebound and you know all the that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I'm used to them getting people all the time like, "Can you
Right.
sign autographs and stuff?"
Aren't you the guy that died on ER last night and
Right,
they're coming
yeah,
over to the place?
exactly.
Yeah.
And, like, another friend I have who's still a good friend of mine, Callie, she was in the movie Sleepover, and that was really recent too. So I'm used to them getting all the attention, and we walk into Bob's Big Boy, and somebody came up to me and was like, you're the pedophile girl." And I remember being like, "Whoa." Like, of all the people sitting at this table right now, and
Oh, no.
I'm like, "But do I take credit for that?" I'm
Yeah, is
like,
that
"I don't know if I'm the pedophile girl." Like, that's very odd.
Yeah, like,
I'm
"Thank
like,
you, could you not shout that in this,
yeah, I'm
store,
like,
please?"
the decoy? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I did do that. So
Oh,
that was
man.
very interesting, and it was very funny because 'cause I'm like, I'm at a table full of people who are very recognizable, and I was the person they came to. I was like, "That's just weird."
Well, yeah, I mean, Dateline, especially the To Catch a Predator, investigations were, like I mean, that was must-watch television when it
See,
came
I
on.
didn't know that at the time. I just thought it's just some show, like, I didn't know how much everybody watched this show.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a you kind of fell into to it. It sounds like, which is nice.
No,
It's
it
kind
was
of fun.
cool. I think my nerves would have been much higher if I
Exactly.
realized it was, like, something bigger, and, I went on to, like, get called to do Cosmopolitan Magazine and Oprah and all this stuff, and that was not something I anticipated in the least when I did this. This wasn't something I did for, like, the fame by any
Right.
means.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and obviously it worked out that way, but I feel like a lot of people probably don't take the role as quote unquote pedophile girl, thinking it's
No,
going to lead to something much bigger. But
no.
um,
I'm like, I don't even know that I considered it like an acting role even per
right.
se. It was just kind of cool for me because I'm just that kind of person that likes to like give back and stuff. And I'm
Hmm.
like, acting is a really hard way to give back. How do you give back
Right.
in acting? And so it was kind of cool because I'm like, well, my whole family, they're all cops and law enforcement. So this is kind of cool because it's my way of getting to like do what they do,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
helping in some way.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was just thinking about it because you were talking about Rick's Talented Tongue as the first one that came in, and they of course led the episode. And I might play it here for just a minute. Do you remember who they led the episode off with by chance?
I don't know if it was Rick, but I know he was one of my first ones. He was the
Yeah.
first screen name for sure that came. So
Let me just play this for a minute, and we'll see if this jogs any memories.
Aware that the men coming into our undercover houses could be dangerous.
Now stay there. We don't want to send you out yet. We just don't.
But as we set up our To Catch a Predator operation in Long Beach, California, the very first man who arrives has us especially worried.
Whoa, 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 hold on. Here he comes. He's coming. Head to position 3.
29-year-old Michael Warriker, an unemployed computer technician, uses the frightening screen name, "Can I Rape You Anally?"
yes, I
Yes.
remember that.
So yeah, that was when I think back to the show, this is definitely a screen name that sticks out to me.
Yes, I remember there were, and he was another one. There were those couple, like I said, that their screen names I will remember forever. He's one where I was like, what did I get myself into? Like,
How how much did you get to kind of study up on the Predators before you had to go meet them?
so they would give us a chat log, but
Mhm.
like it was like a condensed version. So we didn't get all of the chat log. They kind of just wanted to give us the highlights, like talk about this and talk about this and go.
Yeah.
So I would read more into the chat logs after they left
Okay.
because personally I think they didn't want to freak us out too much by having us read the entire chat log because I remember some of them were so graphic, like I'm gonna
Oh
bring
yeah.
my dog so you can
Yep.
F my dog, and
Yep.
I want to like lick you and rape you and all this stuff. And they're like, okay, that's probably not good to give to this little like baby adult decoy
Yeah.
who's, at the time, which this is funny, my best friend pointed this out and I never thought about it. I was a virgin till marriage. So I had never had sex at this point, and I saw more penises in this set, pictures of penises, I should say. That sounded wrong. I didn't see anybody's penis
No, no, I gotcha.
on the set, but like almost every single one of the predators sent pictures. And I
Yeah.
remember there was one like he had Coke cans stacked to compare the size to the Coke. And I remember being like, I have no idea. Do they really have like dicks this big? I don't know. I've never done it before. You know what I mean? I was like, I waited till marriage. So at that time,
Oh, no.
I had
That's
never
almost
seen a penis before. So now
yeah.
I'm seeing like a multitude of penises and so many pictures. And they're like, oh, look, he sent this. Like these men all legitimately sent pictures and like implicated themselves in pretty heavy ways,
Oh,
more
yeah.
than even the show shows
Oh,
as far
yeah.
as catalogs go.
We've read a few of the chat logs, over here, and, you get about maybe 6 lines in before you're like, "Oh, okay, that's a line I never thought I'd read another or,
Mhm.
read from another
Yeah.
human being." And then you remember, yeah, he's sending it to a child, which is just,
Well, "Can I Rape You Anally" was the chat log I remember was pretty graphic. He was one
yes.
of, like, the really, really graphic, almost violent
Oh, yeah, he wanted
I
to I believe
Catalog?
he wanted to, like, cut her and suck on her blood
Yes,
and, like,
that.
yeah, a lot of bondage
Yeah, I
and yeah.
remember being like, this is so hardcore because these first few that I got were just so graphic.
Right, right. I have another I kinda wanna
Mhm.
save it for when we have a better example of it, because there is one I don't know if he's in part 1 or part 2, I didn't do my homework here, unfortunately, but, there is the one, predator, he's younger, I believe his name is, like, Paul Clemente or Clement or
Mhm.
something, he's the one that hides his head in his
Yes, oh,
shirt.
yes, yes.
And so I was gonna
Yeah.
ask, were there any of the predators I mean, obviously, you know what they're here for, you can kinda categorize them a little bit differently, but they're
Yeah,
all here to commit a
yeah.
crime. But are there some that you kind of felt a little bad for in a way? You know, maybe not like, "Oh, they shouldn't be in trouble for this," but like, I don't know, maybe they shouldn't be
Yeah,
exposed on
yeah.
TV, this guy's
Well, the one that
crying
hit his head, I didn't feel as bad for, I just kinda thought it was a little bit funny because I'm like, "You had a camera in your face for so long,
the whole
I had
time,
no
right?
idea that we already saw your face for the last, like, 10 minutes before this happened." Um, but yes, like, I remember, like, the Nickelodeon guy
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
with the that had the Nickelodeon job, and there's one other one similar to in look to him, and I remember looking at them and thinking, "We're not that far apart in age,
Yeah.
yeah, in real life,"
Mhm.
and I'm like, "They're cute guys," and, like, they're people that I would think to, like, date if I were
Right.
to, walk around and meet them in public, and I'm like, it's just crazy to look at the chat logs
Mhm.
and realize they're talking to like 11, 12-year-olds or what they think are 11, 12-year-olds, and then looking at them and being like, they're cute guys. They could get somebody their age. Like
Right.
they would have no problem going out in the world and getting a date and, you know, doing things in real life with people their own age. So it was wild to me, like, why are you here? Like
Right,
you're
right.
ruining your life, but you could be getting that from a grown adult and a woman that's decent looking, like, it didn't make sense to me. I'm like, I
Yeah.
would date these guys and have no idea that this stuff is going on in their heads.
Right, yeah, and I think that's the, great point that Chris makes, quite often is, like, these guys look like anybody, you know? There are a handful of them throughout the show where if you saw them in public, you might think, "Ah, that guy looks like he might
Mhm. Oh,
be one
yeah.
of those," but for the most part, they're just
No.
normal looking
Yeah,
men.
it was very eye-opening to me how many were very normal looking, very much like, wow, if I saw them out in public and they asked me out on a date, I'd probably say yes, like, without having any knowledge of what's going on in their heads till you see their chat logs, and they're horrible.
Right. Did the show make you kinda look at things like that a little bit differently as you got older, maybe did start dating and stuff like that? Did you start to wonder, like, "What's this
Oh, my
guy's
favorite question.
internet history
Um,
like?" You don't have to answer if you don't want, but
should it have? Yes. Did it? No,
That's fair.
because like a year and a half after To Catch a Predator, I met my now ex-husband, but my husband for a decade almost.
Uh-huh.
Um, I met him online in Long Beach.
Oh, no.
Not even kidding. And I went to him to his house. And he knew who I was. Well, he figured it out after we had talked for a while because he had been the one to reach out to me. But like once he realized I was the Catch a Predator girl, and his brother is the one that actually told him, he kept like on the way there being like, This isn't like a setup. Like Chris
Oh my
Hansen is not
god.
coming like this." And I had to convince him, like, no, that's not what's happening. The entire time I'm not thinking this could be like an old 50-year-old man and you're
Right.
about to get kidnapped. Like you would think that would cross my mind. It was in Long Beach. He was living in like it was insane. Like
That's
every time, and I remember I lied to my mom about this. I was like, "Oh, I met him at a coffee shop." Um, but like once it was okay, we finally told her the truth. But no, I knew it was bad and I
Yeah.
still did it.
Oh,
Luckily, it
that's
worked out. We had 4 kids, we got married, all of that. We're divorced now. But for what it is, we had 4 beautiful kids together. So it all worked out
yeah,
and
no,
we
it
got kidnapped. But
yeah.
it was not smart. I don't recommend it. And I should definitely have learned my lesson from doing the show.
Right. No, I find it funny too that he also had a similar like, okay, I should be kind of nervous too, because
Uh-huh.
last time I
Yeah.
saw you in Long Beach, you were getting men arrested.
Uh-huh,
So
exactly. I'm like, "You did tell me that you are 19." I'm like, "I swear I am. I swear."
Oh, that's too funny. I'm gonna play this just a little bit further, just so we get a little bit more interaction here, and see if anything kind of jogs your memory from meeting Michael Worker face to face here.
He thinks he's coming to meet a girl who said she was 13.
Okay, open up the door.
What Warwicker apparently doesn't know is he's really been chatting with an adult decoy from Perverted Justice. That's an online watchdog group Dateline uses as a consultant to do what it normally does. Go into chat rooms, mostly on Yahoo and AOL, set up computer profiles, and in this case, pretend to be children under the age of 14 who are interested in sex.
Okay, that's cool.
There's a giant chair they had you in there. I just
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm such a tiny person, and I'm like, that makes me look like so much more of a baby.
yeah.
In his online chat, Warwicker tells the decoy maybe we should hook up and says he would like to have anal sex with her. The decoy says, ouch, I think that would hurt a lot. Warwicker responds, yeah, but it's a good pain, you know. Now, Warwicker is at the door,
Hi, how you doing?
being met by a youngish-looking 18-year-old decoy playing the girl who's supposed to be home alone.
Can you sit down?
And it's time for me to have a chat with him.
We have a lot to talk about.
I think I did see a little smile on your face as Chris comes out for the interaction there.
Okay, well, one, I have my feelings about his wording with the youngish looking 18-year-old. What do you mean? I looked like I was like 11.
Yeah,
Stop.
the overalls with the stripe, they definitely did make you look as young as
The
possible there.
overalls.
Yeah.
And by the way, everybody on Reddit is like, her Oshkosh overalls, they were Tommy Hilfiger, they were not Oshkosh. Just so y'all know.
That's why we have you on. We need the inside
Right?
scoops here.
If anybody can like just zoom in a little, you'll be able to see.
So I guess the setup was that Chris was hiding out kind of behind that glass window or a sliding
Yeah,
glass door
so
there.
we had different positions, and he would hang out like tucked back behind like the hot tub and all that. And then there was a door that goes into the computer room, which we called home base.
Okay, gotcha. Was it a pretty I mean, I assume they rented out the whole house, but was the whole thing
Yeah.
kind of a tight, operation in a few small
Yeah,
rooms?
I mean, we all pretty much hung out together at home base. It wasn't a
Mhm.
super small room, but I mean, there were a lot of us, and we joked a lot. Somebody had a birthday from Perverted Justice, so we celebrated their birthday in between all of the different predators coming through the door and stuff. It was fun.
That's a
It was
birthday to
actually a lot of
remember.
fun.
All right, let's get a little bit more Michael Worker here, and then we're gonna skip ahead a little bit.
Though my arrival doesn't seem to faze him one bit.
This is Punch, right?
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Hanging out.
Hanging out.
Oh wait, actually, that's a question. How was the punch on
I
set?
was going to say this. I'm so excited for this. I don't know if I've said this in any other interviews. So the punch is like, we made it taste bad. So
Oh, yeah.
it was like, we didn't like poison it or anything, obviously, but like we would like water it down so bad, stick a little salt in there. Like, will they really drink this? But they would nervously drink it and like chug it. And I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
oh gosh, it tastes so bad.
Funny. I never
Like
knew
one day
that.
was like tang, and so like we watered it down and made it all weird tasting. Like, let's see if they actually like drink this. And they all go and chug it, and I'm like, they're so nervous, they don't even care what it tastes like at this point.
Oh, that's such a good. I never knew that. That's such a
Yes.
good.
It was like, the thing is, like, I know some people look at this as it's not a joke. This is like serious. And yes, it is. But you have to consider us as like decoys and like even the Perverted Justice team. We all have to keep it kind of light in the in between, because if you don't and you get so caught up in like the seriousness of this and like how extremely dangerous it is, you start to like freak yourself out, and
Right.
it makes it harder for you to do your job well. So in the in between, we really tried to keep things light and make jokes and do funny things, just so it wasn't all uptight, scared, getting in our heads too much where we couldn't do our jobs well.
No, that makes sense. And I mean, you had alluded about basically all your family being in law enforcement.
Mhm.
So I mean that's the same style. I mean, I have family members who are EMTs and in law enforcement as well,
Yeah.
and their senses of humor are very
You
different
have
than
to. Like, you
yeah.
have to do something to, like, not break before the next person comes and you're on, you know?
Right. And in this situation, it is you can, I think, laugh because
Yeah.
nobody's really in danger. Obviously, if this is a real situation, these people are real monsters, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's a controlled environment. We get to see all their funny excuses, how they try to weasel their way out of it.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
that's the thing is at the end of the day, the amount of, like, kids that didn't have to be in the situation,
right.
and I was safe doing it
Mhm.
and surrounded by police and Chris Hansen and perverted justice. Like, the best possible way to do this is this way.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, there's a lot that have been saved from not being put in this position because we put ourselves in this position in a
Exactly.
controlled environment.
No, 100%, 100%. All right, man, I'm just focusing on that old Gatorade label too. Sorry.
Yes.
And he went for the
And
punch
I
over the Gatorade.
What's that?
He went for the punch over the Gatorade.
I know, right? The sealed Gatorade that nobody could have messed with, but no,
Yep.
he wants his watered down tag. That's
Yep,
so great.
he's going for it. I remember he actually like drank his. He was definitely nervous.
knew that this was a setup because this was too convenient for this.
What was too convenient?
A chat room and just talking about everything that she did.
And how old was this so-called person we're talking to?
She said she was 13, but
She said she was 13. And
yeah,
how
she
old
didn't
are you?
look at that. I'm 29.
And you thought it was okay to come over here and meet a 13-year-old girl at the age of 29?
And hang out, yeah.
That's all you're going to do was hang out?
That's what I told her, yes.
Yeah.
But remember, we have his chat log, where he writes to someone who says she's a 13-year-old female, "I like rape." She responds, "Creepy."
The most appropriate response, creepy. Yeah, I mean, like it probably is for the best that you didn't get to read the entire chat logs before meeting these
Yeah,
people,
no,
but,
that I
like,
remember reading his after the fact and
yeah.
being like, wow, had I known that, I would have been a lot more nervous because obviously in his head, he is dangerous and violent and messed up. And hopefully he never got to do that to anybody before this point.
No, and actually, you probably aren't aware of this because you're, living your normal life and not obsessed with this show like some of us are. But
I do read updates on some of them here and there.
Michael Worker actually passed away last year, I believe.
Oh, wow.
He was still living in like a home owned by his parents or something. None of these people have great lives after the show, which is good. But yeah, he did actually just pass away pretty recently.
That's crazy. He was young.
Yeah, he was young. I want to say he was like younger than 50 when he passed. He might have just hit 50 maybe. But I believe he was like overweight, had some heart conditions.
Wow. Well, because if he was 29, I was not even 19 at that point. So that would mean he's about 10 years older than me. So he would be like 47 right now.
Yeah.
48 maybe. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, obviously, going to jail is probably not great for your health, but getting aired on national TV, being a registered sex offender, that probably adds a lot of stress and strain. But yeah, actually that kind of leads into a question I had for you. And you kind of answered it already, but if you want to kind of explain a little bit further, how much of the show have you kept up with, afterwards? Did you watch any of the other investigations after yours?
So I've watched a little bit of Casey's, and I do have like her on Facebook and stuff like that. And then I did get to see what happened in Texas and the footage from Texas, watching the documentary. I don't know if you know about the documentary that just came out. But the documentary that I was in, Predators. So I got to see some of that. And I did work with Dan in Long Beach. So kind of getting to hear his experience in Texas, where I was actually supposed to be with him.
Oh, no kidding.
It was very interesting and also heartbreaking and just all around it, one of those things where you're like, I was supposed to be there, and I would probably be a completely different person if I was there, you know?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, that's an interesting, and Dan's such a great decoy too.
Yeah.
He's so like just he seems very happy all the time,
Oh
which I
yes, he was like that peppy,
yeah.
fun. We used to joke and like make bets on who could do what, or who could get a predator to say what. But I will say, like after hearing his interview on predators, I just looked at him and my heart broke because it was like you can just see the heaviness
Yeah,
that he
absolutely.
carries now versus the Dan that I worked with, who was, like carefree, innocent. Like it definitely changed him, which I feel like it would for me too. I would have
Yeah.
absolutely felt that guilt and stuff, which he has no reason to because
No,
he did not do
absolutely.
anything. But I would feel the same way. That's hard. That's a lot to carry.
Yeah, it's definitely like you said, it's not something you can it's only one person's fault in that whole scenario. The
Yeah.
only one person to blame in that, but it is definitely hard to have played a role in that, small or not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, so on a lighter note, you said something that I kind of enjoyed too. There were some types of like bets in the background, like, oh, can I get a
Oh yes.
predator to
Yeah.
say this?
Yep.
That's I love that.
Well, there was the whole maybe it was Riverside, I don't remember, where one of the predators came in naked.
Yes.
And it was like a whole thing between me and Dan, like, are you gonna get them to walk in naked or am I gonna get them to walk in naked? Because that needs to happen again. Whoever that was amazing. And I don't know how that happened, but we're gonna get it to happen. It didn't happen in ours, but that was kind of the whole like lighthearted stuff. Like, okay, see if you can get him to come in with his clothes off.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird that happened twice, I believe.
That's
Um,
just wild.
and then another predator on Chris's new show, Takedown, another one just did it. So it
Oh
still
my
happens. They're
gosh.
they're still falling for the old tricks, it seems. Like,
Insane.
and it's funny too, because so many of them, especially on Takedown, like the newer show,
Yeah.
they know exactly who Chris is. They know exactly what To Catch
Well,
a
that's what I'm
Predator
saying.
is.
By now, like Chris is like a legend. So I feel like I don't know how he manages to still get all these stings
Right.
and all of this. So like he's so successful.
No, absolutely. All right, let's skip ahead a little bit here. Yeah, Mike. I do love seeing them get arrested, but we'll skip ahead a little bit because there is one oh, this
Seaver.
guy.
Yep.
Yes,
Michael
yep. I wanted
Seaver.
to do him. Let me. Oh, I guess
3
he's next.
days.
Who's out here?
Just me.
Later in our program, you'll see
So, Siebert, were you aware that he had been caught before?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was the scary decoy that like Frag, from Perverted Justice. He had to rein me in all the time. And he was like, Dan, you're gonna give me a heart attack. Actually, they called me Ellie on set because back then they tried to make it like locked down so nobody could figure out who we were. And then somebody
Okay.
put us all out on IMDb. And then I was like, well, screw it. It's fine. But he would be in my ear and he's like, do not let this one get close to you, because I had 6 in the Long Beach sting that hugged me and then one that kissed me. The subway
Oh.
that kissed me came in for a kiss. But he was like, this cannot happen with this one. Like,
Yeah.
you need to stay back. So he yelled at me to go to a further back position than what like he normally would. And he was like, I'm telling you, this one's dangerous. You cannot mess with this one. You need to like stay far away. So they were very on me about Michael Siebert.
Yeah, and you hear all that from Frag, and you're probably picturing, something much different to come through that
Yes,
door.
absolutely.
It's
And
Michael
like they
Siebert.
had caught him. He couldn't come to the first day of the sting because he was in court for being caught at Riverside.
Right, right. Unbelievable.
So it's so crazy.
Let's play this one out a little bit because this one is a very interesting interaction
a
here.
first for us. Someone who showed up at one of our earlier investigations unbelievably shows up for.
You can see the distance.
Mhm.
That that
If
you
you
can
watch me in any other one, I'm like over on the side of the counter with them. But they were very much like, you plant yourself in that position and be at least a few feet away.
Yeah. Was it always kind of in the plan that like try to keep the predator and at least this table length away from you? Like,
Yeah, for the most part, like they started having to give me like some more detail because they're like, you're making me nervous,
yeah.
and they're all hugging you now. So we gotta like back off a little. But I'm like all in, like, let's do this. I want to get him the interview. Like, let's make it like make him really believe that this is what's happening right now, you know?
Yeah, so you were like you weren't nervous really at all. You were just trying to get, the
Yeah.
best work. That's
Like really at the end of the day, I knew that if nobody else, Dell would have like taken a bullet for me. So
right.
I wasn't concerned. Like Dell was so hardcore, she would have taken a bullet for any of us.
Oh yeah, I feel like if I was in a house with Dale Harvey and Ron Knight, Chris's security, I feel
Yeah.
like I would
Well, I think
feel
Chris
very
too.
safe.
Chris
Yeah.
definitely got like, pretty angry at some of them and was like got protective for sure.
For another visit.
You know, you look familiar to me. Oops.
Hi, how are you?
This is the third time we've set up an undercover house in California. For the Long Beach police, it's a big operation. Sergeant Lee DeBrabander is in charge.
Just playing this alone.
Okay, yeah, he's gonna talk about perverted justice for a minute. Let me just skip ahead a little bit. Oh yeah, that was another. They were making like Craigslist
Yeah.
ads
It
about.
was so dumb. I remember they were like, they outed us, and this is going to mess us up because they put it online. Like, even before like Facebook was big and all of
Yeah.
that, they outed us that we were doing a sting. Like, why would you do that?
Did you guys discover that like in the house? Well,
Yes.
actively. Wow.
Mhm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
it was just kind of a scramble, or it was just
Yeah.
like.
It was pretty
Okay.
much just a like, shoot, we're going to have to try and like do this and hope none of them see.
Wow. I wonder how somebody even kind of knew what was going on.
I mean, you could kind of tell, I would think, because like the trailer full of cops and
Yeah.
the random arrests happening. But like it was within, I want to say the first day that it was like, well, shoot, the show must go on, but
Right.
hopefully none of them see this.
Yeah, I assume if you're, living on the block and you see, you might see some vans with like
Yeah.
studio equipment rolling up, but you see
Mhm.
Chris Hansen walking inside the door, you kind of have an
Exactly.
idea, what's going
But
on.
why would you put that out there? Are you
No,
wanting the
exactly.
predators to have a heads up? Like, you shut your mouth and let us do what we're doing, then you can announce what you saw later.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, I think if, nowadays, well, obviously this person kind of sucks. They're just trying to help the predators, but I think more realistically, you would just have somebody outside with like their smartphone just filming the whole thing from the outside or something.
Yeah, I mean, to go do that, I would do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd be all about, but I'm not gonna put it online and like blast
No.
it because you want to let this be successful.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's for
exactly.
them too. I mean, the people in the neighborhood, they all live in Long Beach. Don't you want like the sexual predators to be caught in the
Exactly.
area?
That was like the weird part about Murphy for me was they were having like marches around the block way before any of the, Louis Conrad stuff happened. People were having marches and like town hall meetings about NBC. And I think Chris said the line like Murphy was the safest town in Texas that weekend when they were there. Like, I don't see the problem. That always confused me.
No, it doesn't make sense. It's not anything but a benefit to everybody living there.
Exactly, exactly. I'm just trying to. Okay, so they teased us with Cybert, but we're gonna get some other people. Did anybody ever go into the pool or the hot
No,
tub?
no, no one went in the hot tub. We didn't get that far.
That's unfortunate. I know that was always Chris is always looking. Well, I don't know if it was Chris or Lynn Keller or NBC, but they're always looking for new wacky places to catch the predators in.
Yes.
Oh, Sugar Davis. Yeah, let's do some Sugar
He's the
Davis
weed guy.
people.
I
Yeah.
remember. I didn't know anything about him because they were moving so fast and they were coming in so fast. And they're like, Danny just mentioned weed. Like, that was it. That's what I got. I didn't get to look at a chat log. I remember it was just, don't forget about the weed. I was
Yeah,
like, okay. Because sometimes it moves so fast and we had like 3 at one time at one point. So sometimes I was just thrown to the wolves, like,
yeah,
figure it out.
I would imagine the night, like once it started getting dark is when it would start, they would start coming in one by
Yeah.
one, just nonstop. During the day, I feel like you have a little bit more
Well, we
time.
had 3 during the day, one that ended up through the backyard, one the side door, one the front, and it was very hard because they weren't supposed to come at that timing, but then they did.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and nobody's prepared for that.
No.
Were they aired? Did you guys get an interview with them?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I don't remember if they all got interviewed, if I talked to all of them, but it was like a whole fiasco. You meet them at the door, you meet them at the side door, and one's in the backyard just getting arrested.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, that's another great. There's so many where somebody's getting arrested in the backyard while the next one's walking through the front
Yeah.
door.
Well, we were surprised that the 3rd one even came because you would think he would have seen what was going on with all the commotion of side door, backyard, but he still came.
Right. All right. Let's Sugar Davis mention weed.
Not bad.
Good.
Nash was told he was chatting online with a 13-year-old girl. He talks about getting naked in a hot tub with her, smoking marijuana, and putting oil all over each other's bodies. That's apparently why he's decided to come inside.
Come on in. Are you excited? Hey, I'm excited.
I love your energy compared to his. He's so nervous.
He's yay.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite. Yeah, like you could tell he's like, I don't know if I'm gonna get caught right now.
Yeah, I it's hard to tell people just from like the brief window you get to see him on here, but I'm gonna guess that he didn't have a lot of confidence to begin with, and then
No.
I don't think he ever thought he'd get in the front door. I assumed he probably thought, okay, I'm gonna pull up and probably just get tackled by police, and now he's here. He's like, oh shit, okay, yay.
Yeah, he didn't. I don't think he knew like quite how to respond at all.
Yeah, it was definitely a long drive, coming down here and stuff.
Did you bring any weed?
Mm-mm.
No?
No.
Why?
So you didn't bring your drums, or?
No.
You should have a seat right over there.
No.
I need to talk to you for
His face.
Yeah, you could see
It
the
was
turn.
a total deer in the headlights moment when Chris walked in.
Which I feel like's the only appropriate, if you know you're doing something wrong, especially this wrong, and then you see Chris Hansen, that's the appropriate response.
Yes. No,
giant
I
eyes
heard,
blood.
I listened to an interview with Chris and Howie Mandel, and he was saying like it's so wild that these people stay and talk to you, especially knowing who you are. And it makes more sense, like his reaction, just run out the door, just get it done. Like, don't get your face on camera as much as possible. Just get out.
Yeah, exactly. Run.
Get it
Hope
over
you
with.
don't drop that bag full of like baby oil or whatever you brought with you and get out of there.
I don't understand, but most of them do sit down and give him an interview. It's just crazy.
It's the power of Chris Hansen, I think. All right, so they interview him. I don't think I had a question about the trio. Oh, there's Paul Clemente. Let's do some Paul Clemente for a second, and then we'll get back to what I was about to say.
Asks Galliano to go out the back door. That's because right out front is the next man you're going to meet.
Sir, please.
I want to show you something.
Sir, please.
Coming up, this man has a good reason to cover his face.
I keep catching it right. It's about to go to commercial break. All right. Oh,
That's the
sandwich
one.
is
That's
bad.
the one that went in for a kiss, but they didn't air it like that part of it.
Oh, Robert what's his name?
Yes.
Salas or something like that. Yeah, he went in for a kiss.
And they actually cut the part where Chris had gotten really, really angry because he had an 11-year-old daughter and I was playing an 11-year-old girl, and Chris saw him going for the kiss and he just lost it.
Wow. Chris had an 11-year-old daughter, or
No,
okay, guy.
the predator.
Yeah. Wow. That would have been. I mean, I get it, but it kind of would have been cool content to see maybe in like the raw tapes or whatever they called them, because we don't really see a lot of emotion from Chris.
Yes, no, but Chris and I, when we talked, he had said, yeah, it was really hard not to like. He's like, most of the time I can, keep myself in check, but you just have those moments where you do get protective, and like he does have like he had kids too, like protective instinct that were around my age at the time. Protective instinct, like why would you go in to kiss her? You have an 11-year-old daughter at home. What are you doing to her or her friends?
Right. Wow, wow. So did he get like did he get pretty close? Did he actually like get
Ge-
the kiss?
yes.
Oh
And then
wow.
I kind of tried to back away at the same time. And like, there wasn't too much interaction with that one because Chris jumped in so fast.
Wow. That's more that I did not know. That's really interesting. Let's see. I think this is gonna be Clemente.
He's sitting in the car in the front.
It's busy at our undercover house in Long Beach, California.
Okay, he's getting out of the car.
Just stay tight, and we'll go to the front door.
Remember, we asked our previous suspect to go out the back way so he wouldn't scare off our next visitor.
Hi, how are you doing? Come on in.
He's Paul Clemente, a 22-year-old college student from San Diego. Clemente spoke on.
Random question, but was he expecting to meet like a blonde or something? And
I think it was a redhead.
Okay, yeah.
It couldn't have been a blonde because there was a blonde wig and it was horrific.
Yeah,
but I think the towel was a redhead. Clearly, I don't look like a redhead.
No. Well, they had some of the predators. I mean, I think I want to say it was one of the Florida stings. The decoy was like bleach blonde hair, just young white girl, and she had to play one of the predators was coming to meet like an African American teenager, and How
do you do that?
She literally just like yelled like come in and close the door as fast as possible and ran. The guy still came in like
oh my gosh, that's insane.
With someone he thought was a 13-year-old girl. At first, Clemente says she's too young, but soon asks her if she's had sex and what position she's used. Finally, he gets down to business.
So when's the time I could come to your house? Of course when your mom is not around. I'm asking when, so we can go out.
Clemente asks if she's had sex in a hot tub. When the decoy answers yes, he writes back,
"You're making me horny."
For good measure, he sends along this picture of his penis. Then he tells her something that really surprises us.
"You're gonna be my first."
That's right. He may think she's 13, but he's the one who says he's a virgin. Now, the 22-year-old virgin is in the house.
All right, can you pour me a drink really fast? Because
there's something so funny to me. Like, it would never not be funny to me when the predators talk, a huge game in the chat. He sent a picture of his penis. He's here, and now he's gonna be scared and nervous and stand in the corner and be like, "Hi, yeah, I'm here." Like,
yeah, a lot. Like there were a few of them that walked around the house and had to like sure, look around, but behind the curtain on the right when they walked in was like a control room, computer room.
Right.
So I'm like, oh my gosh, don't look behind the curtain or this is over.
Thanks. Awesome. Yeah, I'm just gonna go get my hair ready. I'll be right back.
Take your time.
I'm excited, by the way.
Me too.
So you excited too? How you doing?
I'm sorry.
I just picture you and Chris like high-fiving as you pass each other through the little doorway out there as Chris comes in to just bury these guys.
We never did high five, but we would share a look every now and then, like, oh, this one's gonna be interesting.
Yeah. Could you tell that sometimes if like I know you only interacted with them for a pretty short amount of time,
Yeah.
but were there any where as soon as they came in and started talking, you're like, oh, Chris is gonna have fun with this guy, or like this is gonna be a good interview?
I definitely had that feeling on a few of them where I'm like, this one, especially if I knew like some of the chat log before, then I'm like, oh, this one's gonna be rough. Like he's not gonna have a good time with this.
What's wrong?
I'm sorry.
Please have a seat.
I'm sorry.
What were you doing here?
She said so excited to see me.
She said she was excited to see you.
Now you're in the back, I assume, watching this on like a monitor, like closed monitors in the back. Okay, all right, and you're surrounded by you're in the control room still. Or?
Yeah, I'm surrounded by all the perverted justice team and Dan and all that.
What's the atmosphere like in there while this is happening?
Well, a lot of the times they're like working away, still chatting with all of these guys, and like they'd take breaks every now and then, but a lot of them are like hard at work chatting and stuff, or handing me chat logs, or like telling me you got to pop on the phone with this guy over here because he wants to hear your voice,
Gotcha. So there's not really any time to sit back and kind of watch.
There definitely was those times where we would all be like, okay, now we're just sitting here, but like then they'd fill us in on, like some of the chat logs and stuff, and hey, make sure you do this. But like we joked and had fun, of
Yeah.
course, too.
All right, let's go ahead a little bit here. Okay, yeah, we'll do since this is a memorable one. Hopefully this isn't too traumatic, but we'll do some Robert Salas too.
I did not get the sandwich though, which was
No.
not fair. Everyone asked that. I'm like, no, I did not get to eat the sandwich.
Yeah, I guess I was curious about that too. Is yeah, when the decoy or when the predators bring stuff,
I
I guess
guess
that
it's
goes into
more
evidence.
because the police like make sure that there's not like something sketchy in
Right.
there that they're trying, because they could have been like slipping me a roofie, you know?
Right. No, yeah, that makes sense. And it makes sense to keep it for evidence too, but you're not going to throw like, Subway sandwiches in the evidence locker until, the trial.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
not
like,
going to
if
be
we
good.
can check it and give it back,
Yeah.
he did bring it for me.
That's free lunch.
The door and call out.
Back at the undercover house, a copy machine technician and father of 3 is coming to the door.
Hi.
He thinks he's going to meet a 13-year-old for sex.
Actually, this might be, bear with me here just a second. I know I just paused it randomly, but I think we just got an update about this guy today.
Oh, really?
Let me confirm that. Yes, yep. So Robert Salinas, I never know how to say his last name. Yeah, he just got arrested again. January
way.
1st, it looks like. And it was actually for very similar things.
No way.
Yeah, so there's a good YouTube channel called the Skip Tracer who he's a private investigator, so he'll dig deeper into some of these guys and he'll provide updates. And he literally just posted that today.
That's so sad because, like I said, he has his own kids.
Yeah.
They
Oh
were
yeah.
young.
Yeah, it's you would think getting aired, put jail and your friends and family knowing you're a sexual offender and that you're just kind of a bad guy in general, throw all that out the window. Just being exposed as that on national TV, I think would make me never do I wouldn't even jaywalk
No.
like ever
Why would you
again.
take that chance?
Yeah, it's just insane. So yeah, I don't know the full update on him, but I know that he did just recently get in trouble again.
Well, and then you have all the people defending like, oh, well, Dateline exploited them and blah, blah, blah. And it's so sad because these men, their lives are ruined forever and they're still doing it.
Oh yeah, a large
This
majority.
is not rock bottom for a lot of them.
No, that's the sad part.
And lunch.
Have a seat. Will you pour me a drink, please?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Awesome. I'm just gonna go get my bikini.
okay.
There's a
All
hot tub
that,
there, all right?
fully cut.
Meet 44.
Yeah, you do. You kind of just like teleport to the back of the
Yep.
room all of a sudden. Yeah, wow. So when did Chris kind of like freak out?
Oh, as soon as he went in for the kiss, Chris was like, beeline out of there.
Wow.
4-year-old Robert Salinas, screen name Bob 1028, 2001. The decoy online told him she was 13 years old. In his chat, Salinas seems to know what he's planning to do is wrong.
I could get in trouble for making love to a minor.
So it's all the more disturbing when he asks if he can perform oral sex on her and inquires,
"Do you masturbate?"
He tells the decoy he'll come by before he picks up his child at karate and that he'll bring sandwiches and dessert.
Maybe I'll bring ice cream. I can put it on you and eat it off your body.
Oh yeah, isn't this the infamous they made up, this isn't a real Ben and Jerry's ice cream flavor. So the rumor has it that Bob is still searching the ice cream aisle for this this fake ice cream flavor. But yeah,
my gosh.
it's always like an extra level of gross when, obviously it's an extra level of gross when they have their own kids, but when they mention
They're
the
coming
children,
from a class, like
yeah.
a karate. How?
Have you seen the one, I believe it's Riverside, where the guy brought his child with him?
Yeah, so I've seen a clip of that, but
Mhm.
that's insane.
Yeah, that was the only time I've seen Chris, like, he literally is like, we're not doing this. Like, just go get arrested. This is bad.
No, because
Yeah.
I'm sure that was another one where Chris had his feelings and he probably
Yeah.
had to keep himself in check.
That guy is a whole deep dive too. We're already pushing a lot of time here, so I won't bore you with that. But his his wife didn't leave him. They ended up losing that child that he brought to the Sting house.
What?
Yeah, the child ended up living with like extended family because the wife wouldn't leave him, and he wasn't legally allowed to have like the child in the home with
So
him.
she
And
gave up the child over
yep,
the husband? Oh my, I
yeah,
can't.
yeah, it's a whole
With that.
Ben and Jerry's Funky Monkey?
Okay, then you can lick it off me.
Sure enough, here he is. And he's apparently a man of his word.
Did you bring sandwiches?
Sure.
Awesome. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Did you get something to drink right there? No, please have a seat.
Sure.
Please have a seat. What's going on? What kind of sandwiches did you bring?
Chicken.
Chicken. Yeah. And so you're just going to come over and have a little picnic today? Was that the plan?
Yeah, and then go back to work.
And go back to work. Where do you work?
I work at the copy service. We service copy machines.
Copy machines, yeah. And how long have you worked there?
20 years.
20 years, yeah. And so you left the office today to come over here to...
I was out doing the service call. I was going to...
Oh.
Yeah.
So you had some spare time while you're out doing a service call, and you thought you'd drop by and see your 13-year-old girlfriend you met on...
Yeah, so drops his child off from karate in the company van on company time to commit the crime and didn't learn his lesson. I mean, that has to be...
There is no rock bottom for this guy.
Yeah, I would hate to know what it is. We are going on for quite a bit here, so I do want to. There was one that I really wanted to talk about, but it's probably part 2. So, oh, there's Dan.
I was gonna say, there's Dan. That guy was creepy.
Yeah, isn't it the dude that like lived like down the road or something?
Yes,
like,
and
rode
he
his
biked
bike?
over,
Yeah.
and it was dark. I was like, this is weird. He almost looked homeless.
He does. He does. I mean, he just this picture, minus that the fact that he rode the bike over and probably had a little bit
his
of like,
picture online was like a very cleaned up version from like 20 years beforehand or something.
I love when they do that. Oh, here's the Nickelodeon guy. Yeah.
Guy.
Let's you know what? I'll just ask my question because I don't think they're in this one, and if we do a part 2 someday, maybe we'll get to them. But the tag along, or not the tag along, sorry, the guy, the 3 guys that showed up, the older guy, and he sent the 2 younger guys inside. Yes. And then you had the like 15-year-old, I think, that you actually talked to. That whole scenario. Can you kind of like just explain how that played out?
I don't even know. It was the most bizarre thing. So I don't even know the exact situation because it was all very confusing to us as we're in the control room trying to figure out what is going on. But like, I guess the man who was actually talking to the teenage girl was like much, much older and was a relative and sent in the younger kids in case like that it was a sting and they were getting caught.
Right. Yeah. And then he like bailed at one point and they like had to stop him.
And there was nothing they could do because these are kids. And so it was a very confusing situation. Like it had never happened before. And they're like, I don't know what to make of this.
Yeah. I just imagine that because they never got to speak with the actual predator in that situation.
No. And I don't even know what he looked like or anything.
I can picture him, but he just looks like a scruffy, like bearded pedophile. I don't know.
So like the actual stereotype.
Yeah, I mean he was younger. Well, not younger, but you know, he wasn't like a you know, beer-bellied old man with the glasses.
But I mean, he was smart. He sent in the kids that are minors to feel it out, you know?
Yeah, it was just that one always just stuck out to me because like you do have a weird level, you know, we don't know a lot about that guy, but he seems like he might be one of the more dangerous
if
predators.
You're doing that and they're relatives of yours, like you're gonna throw them to the wolves.
And I feel like that's not a plan you come up with on the spot. Like it almost feels like he had done this maybe before.
Feels like he has had years of like learning how to do this properly.
Right. Let's do Nickelodeon guy here, and then we'll kind of scroll through, maybe find like one more, but we'll start wrapping this up. Let's watch a Nickelodeon guy who I actually wasn't he featured in the Nickelodeon documentary that came out not too long ago.
Was he? Because I did watch that.
I believe he was mentioned. I don't know if they said his name. They might have just said he was caught on an NBC show. I'm gonna have to go back and watch
Interesting.
it.
Now I gotta rewatch it because I totally watched that documentary. I thought it was so interesting.
Yeah, that was a really good. I actually haven't got to watch Predators yet. I apologize, but that's
You haven't watched it yet? Oh my gosh.
no, I actually have
It
not
is
a chance.
amazing.
I heard great things. I just have to get the Sundance
It
out.
is life-changing. You don't understand.
We'll plug that at the end here. Let's watch some Nickelodeon, guys.
Old girl. After the decoy sends a picture, Smith writes, "It's definitely bad. I think you're this cute. Laugh out loud." The girl asks, "How come?" He writes back, "'Cause I'm 27. He sends her several naked pictures of himself, but the next day, Smith seems to express regrets. "It can be dangerous," he writes. The girl asks, "How come?" Smith replies, "'Cause it's illegal." Over the course of 10 days, Smith sends her links to 40 pornographic videos showing everything from oral sex to sex among multiple partners. He tells her when he comes over, he wants to perform oral sex on her. And now, here he is, walking into the house.
Hey, come on in. How are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Was his hair that bright red in person?
Yes, it definitely was. And I also didn't catch the first time that he wrote the word illegal wrong.
Yeah,
That's
I saw
very
that
interesting.
Awesome.
Good.
I made us some drinks.
Awesome.
And we have a hot tub.
Awesome.
I really liked your videos, by the way.
Did you really?
So have you been?
I've been good. It took me like 21 minutes to get down here because there was so much traffic.
Are you serious? Where do you live?
North Hollywood.
Oh, that's not bad.
We had a lot to talk about, you and I. Why don't you just have a seat right there, please?
Were there ever moments where you were just making chit chat with the Predator and you're like, "Okay, Chris, anytime, feel free"? Like,
Yeah, a couple of them. Like I said, like Rick's talented tongue went on and on and on outside forever, where I was like, at any time we can call this because I don't know what to say anymore. But this one, like I said, he was like decently cute, looks all innocent and sweet. And I did have a moment of like, maybe he's not that bad. Like
Right.
maybe he is not that bad. And then I remember them being like, no, the chat logs and like showing me and like the videos and all that. And I was like, oh, never mind. Like that's insane.
yeah, no,
You would not
exactly.
know looking at him. He looks like this little innocent, sweet 20-something.
Right. Yeah,
No.
it doesn't look like it hurt a fly. He's only dangerous around a bottle of like red hair dye. And outside of
Yes.
that, he's totally normal. But yeah, then you get those weird full body nudes and what he sent like what
Just so
49 links to
Yes,
pornography?
it was like some of the like I think he might have sent the most footage and pictures and things of any of them. And I was just shocked.
Wow.
No, I need you. Seriously.
I have to go. I'm sorry.
You're going to want to talk to me.
I'm sorry.
Trust me on this. Now, you work at Nickelodeon, huh?
No.
You don't. What's your name?
Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Get on your knees!
Put your hands behind your head. Back your head. On your knees. Both knees. Both knees.
I really wasn't going to do anything.
Stand up, guys.
I swear to God.
Smith.
All right, let's see.
There was a lot of
Oh,
for him
this
there. Oh, there's Rick.
yeah. Well, and there's the dude that isn't this the guy who he like saw or no, didn't your walkie go off?
Yes. Okay. So my
Yeah.
earpiece, something happened. I think it came out of my ear or something. And like he could hear it on the ground. And then he like heard it and then freaked out and then went away and then still decided to come back.
Unbelievable. And then he's so nervous. He's the one that like asked for a tour when he comes inside. And,
Like I was like, I remember being like, I think he's a goner. And then all of a sudden he's flying back up and I'm like, wait, he's back. Well, I guess he's back now.
It's unbelievable what these guys would do when they think there's just a 1% chance that it might
Like,
work
you
out.
know, he really was intentional, like had the intention of going through with things if he came back after hearing the earpiece drop and could get
Yeah.
a flag over the earpiece.
Exactly. Oh, I guess we end on Cybert here. So let's watch him and then we'll wrap it up. I think they'll show a little bit of Riverside. Yeah, okay.
Months earlier, during our previous investigation in Riverside, California,
running so
this
funny.
man, 26-year-old Michael Seibert, walked into our house.
Get a bathroom.
Back then, Seibert had a sexually explicit online chat with someone who told him she was 13.
And just another real quick side note that's funny about Seibert is he was on the sting with the most predators caught. They caught so many in Riverside that his segment didn't even get aired originally.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So he, quote unquote, got extremely lucky. He didn't go to jail. Or no, well, I guess he was going through the court system. So he did end up going to jail, but he didn't get aired on national TV. He just had to deal with like all the other repercussions. And then he hits the lottery again somehow. And ends
well,
up,
they said that he was talking to several of the decoys. It wasn't just like one for this sting. He had several of the perverted justice decoys going.
I would believe that because I have a feeling that Seibert didn't get a lot of responses to messages he sent. So all of a sudden, when he was getting responses, they were probably all,
because he is so mentally like handicapped. He was so dangerous.
No, exactly. Yeah, he has no. You don't know what he might be capable of when he understands.
And he had like assault charges and stuff like that. So they were like, "This is no joke, Dani. Like you can't mess with this one."
Yeah, I think he had like attacked somebody with a baseball bat.
Yes, that.
Yeah, yeah.
And he sent a picture of his genitals.
Hey, sir. Let's come on over here for a minute, please.
Seibert certainly had some explaining to do.
And why did you send pictures of yourself like this to her?
Oops.
Oops.
I will never do it again. Promise.
And you say a lot of sexually charged things to her for a 13-year-old girl.
I know what I did wrong. Okay?
Okay.
It will never happen again.
Go ahead, you come in.
Sorry about that.
Seibert told the Riverside police he gets treatment for seizures and that the scar on his head was caused by a fall when he was an infant.
Do you work?
Yes.
Later, he pleaded not guilty to a charge of an attempted lewd act on a child and attempting to send harmful matter to a child with intent to seduce. That case is still working its way through the court system. So fast forward 8 months from our house in Riverside to our Long Beach investigation. He's still online, still using the same screen name, and amazingly, still chatting with someone who tells him she's 13. Just like his chat 8 months before, he asks, "Have you ever had sex yet?" And "I need sex." He also talks about group sex, but he's also suspicious and asks, "Are you a cop?" To which she replies, "No, I'm not a cop." Then apparently referring to his meeting with Dateline 8 months earlier, he writes, "I got caught before." Incredibly, he tells the decoy he has to delay the Long Beach liaison for a day because he has to go to court, a court date to face charges arising from our Riverside investigation.
So he says, okay, so if I get it straight, you guys are already in the midst of doing the Long Beach sting. Let's just say it's like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He's supposed to show up that Friday and then
has to delay a day.
Now, was that news that you guys were made aware of? Like, were you waiting for him to show up that Friday or whatever day it was? Okay.
Like he messaged us that like, oh, he had something to do that day or whatever. And they were like, yeah, it was court. He's in court that day. But I think it's so funny. And it wasn't just him, because I know he has a mental like issue, but a lot of them ask, are you a cop?
Right.
Do you really think your response is going to be, yes, actually, absolutely, I am a cop?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what is the point?
And they, they mentioned the scar on his head and, his mental whatevers. But in that Riverside clip, he says clear as day, I know what I did was wrong. And that's all you need.
Well, he always says, oops. Like,
yeah. Like, he's very aware that what he's doing is a crime and shouldn't be happening. And he chooses to do it multiple times.
Well, and he wasn't supposed to be online at this point. That was something that they had restricted him from.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'm sure. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'm sure they threw the book at him. And I know a lot of Long Beach people.
I think when we looked it up, it was a really pretty heavy sentence, which I was very surprised because of his mental handicap. I thought he might get like a little grace for that, but
right.
I mean, he is dangerous, so that's a really hard balance. Like,
right, and he has the record, and you know, like I said, he knows what he's doing is wrong. It'd be one thing if he had no understanding of like what was happening around him and he committed a stupid crime, but
yeah.
to say oops and I know what I'm doing here is wrong, sir, like you kind of throw all that defense out the window then.
Yeah, I
In
don't.
my opinion.
I mean, he was obviously like not that of a normal 20-something,
Right.
but old enough
Yeah.
to know right from wrong.
Correct.
But the very next day,
Hey, come here.
here he is.
Okay, we're not messing around with this guy. You do not
See?
let him get within 6 feet of you, 8 feet of
Brad was
you.
ready to slap.
Just me. Promise, my parents are gone.
You know, you look familiar to me.
Oops.
That's right. Oops, he's done it again.
Michael, right?
Oops, sorry.
I love
Do you remember
this.
who I am?
He's done it again.
Can you just go?
What are you doing here, Michael?
I'm sorry.
You were just in court on Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened in court on Friday?
He said more time.
More time before the next court date.
Yeah, I'm sorry what I did.
Okay. But you got to explain to me why or how you thought it was okay after having a court date stemming from our last visit, and then within 24 hours you show up at this house to meet another young girl.
It's like you can tell that even Chris can't believe it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you just got in trouble. You were just in court. That should be screaming at you. Don't do it.
All right, let's finish that.
What are you thinking about? Now you know.
I know it.
You know what you said online, right?
Yeah.
How old is this girl?
Don't know.
13. She told you she was 13.
Yeah, and I told her to go away. She keeps eyeing me back.
You ask if she's got naked pictures of herself. You ask if she performs oral sex, what color her underwear is. Now, Michael, you know this is not right to do this, right? And we had this very same conversation in Riverside, California.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And right then, you told me that you knew this was wrong.
I know.
And that you would never, ever do it again. And that turned out to be a lie, didn't it, Michael?
I promise this time, if you rip it up, I'll never come back.
But if he appears to be a sad case, you should know that according to Perverted Justice, Seibert has had sexual chats with at least 3 other decoys who said they were underage girls. And you should also know that there's another side to Seibert's story. He served a year in jail for a dangerous assault. What was the deadly weapon you used in the assault?
Bat.
And who did you go after with the bat? Some guy? Is there anything else you want to tell me, Michael?
I know I did wrong.
You did wrong.
Can I go?
Michael, you can go, but I'm going to remind you that I'm Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing another story on adults who try to meet kids on the internet for sex.
I know I did wrong.
You can go. You can go right now. You can walk right out that door.
Any cops out there?
That's not up to me, Michael.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not the police. So why don't you go ahead, Michael? It's time to go.
Seibert clearly doesn't want to leave. Having been through this before, he knows the police are waiting outside.
I need a bathroom.
Michael, you're going to have to go outside.
I know I did wrong.
Now, walk out, get on your knees.
All right, I think we saw enough of Seibert there. That was fun. I don't go back. I've seen the show so much, you know, that they stick out in my mind. I can remember a lot of their names and faces, but then you go back and watch some of their segments and you're like, oh, that's right. Like this dude did say that, or he did do that. He is a
It's just
Great.
wild. It's wild that some of them just like, I don't know, feel comfortable enough going and continuing it even after they're caught.
Yeah, well, and like we saw with Bob, the chicken sandwiches guy, it's still happening, unfortunately, even in 2025. And in not even new people, it's some of the same names and faces that were exposed, you know, almost about 20 years ago now.
Well, but then you have like Satinder Thin, who I called Bun Bun, that I ended up seeing in the gym years later. He's like a millionaire now and owns like a weed business. Yeah, you're gonna have to look him up. He's literally a millionaire.
Oh wow, that actually kind of
Then you
hurts
have
my
the polar
feelings.
opposite. His life was not ruined.
That is insane. Yeah, we'll have to if you ever want to do this again, we'll have to pop up part 2 and catch
Yeah,
some of the other
definitely.
ones. But yeah, I appreciate you so much sitting down, going down memory lane with me a little bit.
Absolutely.
I know you said you were involved with the Predators documentary. Definitely want to plug that. Everybody go check that out.
Yes,
Support Dani.
everybody needs to go check that out. It was so good. If you think you know, you really don't. Like everybody thinks like, well, I know all there is to know about To Catch a Predator. It is not even that. Like there are things I didn't know. And so it's very like you come in with a perspective and then it's slightly shifted by the end.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Definitely gonna have to get a watch of that sooner than later. But is there anything else? Anywhere people can find you? Anything you want to plug?
I mean, I have my own TikTok. It's called Our Single Mommune with my best friend. And I do answer To Catch Predator questions there as well.
Perfect.
And of course, Reddit for the Reddit people.
Perfect. If you want, just send me a link to that TikTok.
Yeah,
I'll put it in
definitely.
the link in the description. But appreciate your time so much, Dani. Thanks for doing
You
this.
too. Thank you again.
Yeah, of course. Have a good night, everybody.
You too. Bye.
Bye.